Welcome to the Right Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Williams, best-selling romance author, book coach, and founder of Serenade Publishing. I've been an avid reader ever since I could hold a book, and I've spent a decade immersed in the world of writing, editing, and publishing fiction. I know firsthand what it takes to turn a love of storytelling into a sustainable, soul-aligned author career. Each week, I share real talk about writing fiction, marketing smarter, and staying inspired, along with up-to-date industry insights and the strategies that are working right now. You'll also hear from fellow authors, editors, and industry experts who are out there doing the work and making waves. Here, we put the woo in the work of writing, publishing, and growing your author business. Think of this as your creative business pep talk, packed with heart, hustle, and a little bit of magic. So get cozy and join me. Your writing journey starts now. Welcome back to the Right Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Williams, and today's episode is a gem, especially if you've ever felt like your brain just works differently. If you're a writer living with ADHD, or even just suspect you might be, you are going to love this conversation with Samara Thorn. She's a certified Gallup Strengths Coach and author who has made it her mission to help creatives understand how their natural strengths can become their superpowers, especially when neurodivergence is in the mix. We talk about why knowing your strengths isn't just a nice to know thing, but actually a game changer for productivity, confidence, and success. Whether you're navigating writing routines, marketing your books, or just trying to stay focused long enough to get the words down, this episode is for you. Samara also shares her own experiences with ADHD and how understanding her Gallup strengths transformed how she approached her business, creativity, and daily life. So if you've ever struggled with consistency, focus, or feeling like the traditional advice just doesn't work for you, you're in the right place. Enjoy this chat with Samara Thorn. Welcome to the show, Samara Thorn.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so excited to talk to you today. And for the lucky people who are watching on YouTube, we have an amazing visual, what are we calling it?
Yeah, a background. It's got all my strengths. It's got all my Clifton strengths on
Yes,
there.
and we will be diving deep into that because Samara is a Gallup certified strengths coach with Becca Syme. Of course, we just had Becca Syme on the show a couple of weeks ago, which was absolutely incredible. But I really want to talk to you today, Samara, about being a writer, a creative with ADHD and learning some strategies from you about how we can utilize the superpower that is ADHD into our writing. So I'm going to let you take the floor. And Samara, tell us about you, your books, and how you got into author coaching.
Yeah, so I write under Samara Parish for the moment. My real name, coaching name is Samara Thorn, and I have always been a writer, like most of us from childhood, but I started being published. My first book came out in 2021 with Grand Central Forever, which is an imprint of Hachette in the US. And I write historical romance. I started author coaching. I was a student of Becca's for quite some time because I'm like, oh, write better, faster. I would like to write better and I would like to write faster. Thank you very much. And that introduced me to the concept of strengths. Which I found fascinating. Strengths came from the positive psychology movement back in 1950s. Essentially, a guy called Donald Clifton, he did a whole lot of research into what people did right, which meant that he interviewed the top 1% of everything. We're talking Olympic athletes with Fortune 500 CEOs, Nobel Prize winners. And from that research determined that there were 34 different strengths, which is clusters of behaviors that people do. Everybody has them all, but in a different order. And the idea is that the more effort and the more energy you put into your top strengths, the greater your results are going to be. So a good example of that is they did a test on students, a set of students who had an average reading speed versus a set of students that had an above average reading speed. And they put them through the exact same program with the exact same teacher. And the students with an average reading speed did really well. They improved by like 100% or something. The students who were already above average speed readers, they improved by over 1,000%. They became in the top percentage of speed readers in the world. And that was, it sort of showed that you can put the same amount of energy into something you're naturally good at and get exponentially better results than putting that energy into something that you're not so good at.
That's so interesting. So Clifton's strengths, are they how do you go about finding out what your Clifton strengths are?
So Gallup, you sort of test personality metrics. You do a test. They test everything pretty much, like even like the speed at which you're answering questions, and that will generate a report. And that report, either the cheapest one is your top 5. And the reason they give top 5 is because that's where your energy and effort should go, or you can get your full 34. So yeah, that's how you go. These are my strengths here. I'm a number 1 intellection. All of your strengths, interestingly, are your, yes, they're your greatest strengths, but they are also your greatest weakness. So you don't necessarily need to worry about what is number 34. You need to worry about your number 1 behaving badly, essentially.
Excellent. So
and so that's
what does intellection actually mean then?
So intellection is, we're thinkers, we like to think, and we are motivated by certainty, which means that our action point, the point where we can actually produce, so in a writing context, the point where we can actually get words on the page, requires certainty, and a level of certainty. And intellection is about how we get to that certainty. I like it as a strength. One of the common frustrations, it is quite a slow strength compared to some of the others. And then relator is my number 2, and that's all about relationships. And that's how I like to form relationships, the kind of relationships that I like to have. And that influences my writing as well in terms of the relationships that I develop with other writers, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so then you've got learner. So I guess that's
Then I've got learner. Yes, yeah, that one's of it. We are motivated by mastery. Individualization is why I like strengths so much, because we like to know how people tick, what makes people different, why do they do the things that they do. Input is a collecting strength. We're motivated by utility. We like to collect things that we think might be useful, and that is usually information.
Yeah.
So if you have like 134 tabs open, you are either ADHD or you are input. One of the
2. I'm so curious now to see what mine are. This is so funny. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. So there's, how many did you say? 30?
34. 34. Yeah.
Wow. So there is a lot of different combinations, obviously, that yeah. Do you often find people, well, have you ever found people who are like the same as you?
Not exactly the same. No, I've found people who have like maybe 4 of my top 5, which is always a really interesting discussion. And yeah, so I see, obviously, as a strengths coach, I see a lot of people's strengths. And occasionally I come across people who are similar to me. And then occasionally I come across people who are just very, very different. And I love coaching them because they're just so interesting. So interesting. I had a client this morning and I'm like, you were worth getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning for. You are fascinating.
Because I guess knowing these strengths would help in any sort of career, not just creativity.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, originally it was developed for corporate.
Yeah, right.
So corporate is who used it, and actually they've influenced it somewhat. There's a strength called belief that used to be called fairness, and then all the corporations were like, we don't like the name of that. So yeah, it was, so a lot of strength coaches do corporate coaching, but we do creative coaching.
Amazing. So, how do knowing the strengths actually help as a writer? So, if I came to you and we
Mm.
we worked out my strengths, how would you use that to help me with my writing?
So the way that we generally go is like, what are your pain points? What are the things that are frustrating you or you're finding difficult? And then we kind of have a look at where that behavior or where that frustration is coming from. And sometimes the answer is, well, you're just not wired to do the thing that you want to do. And sometimes the answer is, oh, okay, one of your strengths is acting against you, right? So we call those balconies and basements. And when that strength is generative, like when it's doing really good things, it's in its balcony, but when it's in its basement, that's bad. There's a lot of things that it can do really, really wrong. So for example, intellection, the basement is I just don't write. Right? Like I'm stuck. I'm in writer's block. I won't write. Um, Related, the basement, there's so many. I don't Related basements are interesting, but often they can be seen as it's very trust based. So it could be seen as like unforgiving, or or it could be something like an unwillingness to speak to new people, because they like fewer, deeper relationships, that sort of thing. So then we have a look at what strength is getting in the way and work out how to adjust those behaviors so that you can write better fast.
Yeah, that's amazing. So,
Mm.
in terms of how this relates, if you've got ADHD,
Mm.
how does knowing your strengths actually help with that?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that it comes in. And I should just sort of clarify that I'm not a certified ADHD coach. I am a certified strengths coach who has done and continues to do training about ADHD so that I can support my ADHD clients better. But I but I'm not an ADHD coach. But there are a lot of things that are similar, or a lot of crossover behaviors. So when it comes to ADHD, when it comes to any kind of coaching, we're really dealing with two different things: mindset. So in strengths coaching, we do a lot of mindset work, and we also do a lot of work around your behaviors, obviously, and how those behaviors are working for and against you. When it comes to ADHD, we have a different sort of layer to that. So we're still doing a lot of mindset work. There are themes when it comes to ADHD and mindset that aren't as strong as they are elsewhere. We still have the behaviors work, which often overlaps with strengths, but then we also have the executive functioning, and and how do we adjust for some of the issues with executive functioning. So they're kind of the three different areas. There's just another layer when it comes to ADHD.
Yeah, amazing. So, are there any specific tips that you would that you would give to someone with ADHD?
Yeah, I mean, if we have a look at those different areas, so when it comes to mindset, some of the patterns that we see with ADHD is that um, there's a lot of shame when it comes to mindset. We've spent the majority of our lives being told that we're not productive enough,
Yeah.
we're not organized enough, we aren't. And so when mistakes happen due to executive functioning, there's a lot of shame related to those, which can really impact your writing in terms of how you respond to events, um, especially when it comes to like the business side of writing. Like a personal example for me, I was going to get some ads into the Romance Writers of Australia program, actually. And I literally just did not read an email properly. It's a very common thing with ADHD folk. We just don't read emails properly. And a lot of that is because our brain thinks faster than our eyes do. And then we get bored and we assume that we know what the rest of the email says and we don't read it. And it turns out that I probably should have read it because it had a due date in it that
Oh.
I did not meet. And so, like, my reaction to that was a lot worse than a lot of other people's reaction to that, because it was just reinforcing this thing that I've been told so many, like, you're useless. So, a lot of the mindset work that we do is around coming to terms with that, and self compassion, really, and then working on, okay, well, what are the strategies that we can put in place to make sure that you read your emails correctly? And then some of the other, so that's kind of one of the things that I would suggest to ADHD writers is have a look at where that shame is getting in the way, because it's so much, if you can bring it to self-compassion, the much more effective solution is to be curious. Like, why did you make that choice? Right? Like, why did this thing go wrong? Because our natural reaction is a shame reaction. It shuts down. So when it comes to the brain, we have like the brain and the body, there's this thing called the window of tolerance and our nervous system, where within the window of tolerance, that's where we can access logic and thought and reason, creativity, right? Creativity comes when we're in this calm window of tolerance, as does all the positive emotions. Once we hit like negative emotions, we start to get either fight or flight, or we go into sort of freeze. And then we don't have access to logic, and we don't have access to creativity. No. So once we have that shame moment, we immediately go outside of our window of tolerance into either fight or flight and freeze, which we're not getting anything written. We're not doing anything. We're not doing anything great, but we're also not learning from that experience. So if we can sort of regulate our nervous system and get back to a place where we can think logically, then we can go, okay, well, why did I do that? And keep asking why. And then once we understand, we can put a strategy in place. Yeah. So if you were looking at, trying to think of an example that is really relevant to writing that I can share. But if we were going to go for like a missed deadline, because you just didn't notice, you can feel really bad that you missed this important meeting with your editor. And it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to feel bad. And then I'm going to breathe, right? I'm going to breathe. I'm going to do some box breathing. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go for a shower. And then I'm going to come back and go, but why did you miss that meeting with your editor? Because you really wanted to be there. It was very important. You were looking forward to it. And is it because you didn't put it into your calendar? Why didn't you put it into your calendar? Like what is missing in your process that you didn't put it into your calendar? Did you not put it into your calendar because you did it while you read the email while you're on the bus and you had your hands full, and so you weren't able to put it into your calendar? Like continuing, not just go, well, I didn't put it into my calendar, but it's like, okay, cool, why? And then it's like, well, why did that happen? And then why? And you just keep asking until you go, okay, well, if that's the problem, then what can I put in place to stop that from happening next time? And so that constant why is kind of the heart of all coaching, even with strengths coaching, where we just replace shame and embarrassment and self-hatred and anger, and we replace all of those negative emotions with curiosity to go, okay, cool, well, you know you're not a bad person, right? You know that you're not lazy. You know that you're not stupid. So there's got to be a reason. Let's look for the reason. Yeah. Let's fix the reason.
Awesome. So when I was talking to Becca, we were talking about how there's not just one writing routine that works for everybody. So I'd love to know, you have ADHD. So what does, and I want to say an average, but there probably isn't an average writing day for you. But what could a writing day look like for you?
Okay, so for me, my writing days are best do it in the morning, right? Do it in the morning before I get distracted. So there's different strengths have similar behaviors with ADHD. So some of my personal strengths that relate to ADHD, and a lot of ADHD people have them: input, adaptability, right? So input is it just likes to consume information, right? It likes to collect information, and adaptability will focus on whatever's in front of its face. All right. So in terms of prioritization, what's most important is what is in front of it, not the deadline that you have, but the washing that's on the counter. And ADHD can be similar in terms of the distractibility. It can go down the same rabbit holes. And so it can have the same, like, in the moment, I'm not thinking about what needs to be done or my long-term goals. I'm thinking about what's in front of my face. So I write in the morning, because the earlier in the morning I do it, the less time the world has to come in and distract me. I tend to write outside of the house. I would love to get better in the habit of writing inside of the house. But if I'm inside of the house, I'm like, oh, I'll just quickly go put the washing on. Oh, I'll just quickly mow the lawn. And that turns into, oh, did you see that my wisteria trunk is rotting? Like, what's going on? Let me just cut down my wisteria. You know, like it can be like my whole day goes. Whereas if I leave the house, I'm at a coffee shop or I'm at a library, there's not a lot of other distractions. So that works with people who are high adaptability. It works with people, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people with ADHD, is the minimize distractions by getting out of the house and doing it early in the day.
And
among many other things.
would you recommend like any software or like noise cancelling headphones or anything like that?
Yeah. Yep. It's an app called freedom.io.
Freedom.io.
And it is freedom.io, and I really should become like a brand ambassador or something, because I will literally make clients bring out their phone while they're on a call and download it with me on the call. So Freedom is it's an app that will block your phone, your laptop, your computer, or your digital devices from different parts of the internet at different times, right? So you can block the entire internet. You can block social media during certain hours. You can block just one social media account if you find that you're always on Threads or you're always on this. I have a block on my phone that starts at 6 a.m. and doesn't finish until 10 a.m. and I can't access anything. That's not like my computer. Like, I can't access the news. I can't access social media. I have another one that starts at 8 p.m. So that I have better sleep routines, because one of the things with ADHD and with several strengths, right? Like input is a killer for this. Any like empathy, like a lot of people's strengths feel like they need to be on social media because they need to know what people are doing, or they need to sort of see what's happening in the world, which isn't often good for people. And so this need to be online all the time. My ADHD just got me really confused. So that's really important, being able to block that, because it's not easy to do it yourself, especially when you have ADHD. Your brain is searching for dopamine. Like you don't produce dopamine the way a neurotypical brain produces dopamine. And so you have to, and that's the way we function, off dopamine. Social media is just a really unhealthy kind of dopamine. It's fast, it's intense, it's not a good one, but your brain becomes like, oh, I need that. So I really hate the way that people with certain strengths and also people with ADHD feel like they are failing or less than because they have a social media addiction, or because they can't get off social media, because they look at other people. Like, my husband's never on social media. Never. I know he's got accounts, and if he goes on, he can go on for 10 minutes and then come off. And there was a time where I felt like I was lesser than him because he had this willpower that I didn't have, and that made me a bad person, and it made me a bad writer because I'm on social media instead of writing, instead of reading. And now I understand, well, no, actually, that's just how your brain works. Stop expecting yourself to have the willpower and strength to do it, and just use an app. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's amazing. And I, we know that social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, they're purposely designed the way they are, of course.
Yep.
So they love that we're all over social media all the time. But of course, it is wasting so much of our time. And it's funny because my partner, he's not really on social media, but he's obsessed with playing chess on his phone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the same sort of thing. He's not doing social media, but he's
Mm.
played 10 games in a row. So,
Yeah.
but I guess there could be worse things, and he is a self-declared ADHD. He's definitely not diagnosed yet, even though I keep telling him he should. Oh gosh. So how do we go about getting our strengths assessed? Is it online? Do we come to you?
Yeah, so you can go to Gallup. So Gallup.com I can shoot through. I was about to put it in the chat, but people won't see the chat. But I can give you the link. So you can go to Gallup. The other thing, you can see if you're like you can hear a lot of strengths in yourself and with coaches. You don't always need strengths to go to a strengths coach. We do a lot of coaching for people who don't have their strengths.
Mm.
But another thing, sorry, I'm just going to go on a tangent because
Yeah.
it's interesting and I think I have time.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the overlap between strengths and ADHD and some of the behaviors and how we would coach around that. So the behaviors that show up really like the strengths that show up as similar in a lot of ADHD people, and not everybody with these strengths has ADHD, and not everybody with ADHD have these strengths. There's no causation. It's just like, oh, this is a pattern. Adaptability and input are two. They're very distractible. They show up a lot. Some of the other strengths, and so when we coach the strengths behavior, which is coaching the ADHD behavior, it's all about how do we put guardrails in place to keep you from being distracted? Like, how do we put guardrails in place to limit what's coming in front of you so that you can get the work done? Another one is activator. Activator shows up a lot, and it's a very impulsive strength, and it's a very quick strength. And people with ADHD have, one of their executive functioning deficits is impulse, because that part of the brain didn't develop the way that it should have when we were younger. And so the activator, we always say it's ready, aim, fire. So ready, fire, aim instead of ready, aim, fire, because there's no thought between trigger and action. There's absolutely no thought. And so it's very similar in terms of I'm scrolling Facebook and, oh, there's a pre-made cover and I've got a story for that and I'm going to buy it, right? Oh, there's a course. I like that course. I'm going to buy it, right? Without actually stopping to think about, okay, well, do I need it? That sort of stuff. So there's a lot of similarities between activator and ADHD, and so there are activator behaviors that we can coach that will help somebody with ADHD. Some of the other one's focus. People don't necessarily expect to see focus as a strength related to ADHD, but ADHD hyperfocus is a thing. And a lot of people with high focus are similar in terms of what the physical experience is like when you get into a hyperfocus versus what the physical experience is like when you're focused with a focus strength. So and there's certain impacts that it has on family and businesses and environments, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's where a lot of the similarities, if you think you have ADHD but you don't have a diagnosis, my diagnosis cost me like $1,600. Then strengths can sometimes be a place of like, oh, okay, I don't know this, but let me see if some of these behaviors that are causing issues can be attributed to a strengths thing, and then let's coach around that as well. So although some of us, Susan and Nikki, myself, we have ADHD and have had some training, so there's an element of oh, okay, this is not a strengths thing, this is an ADHD thing, let's address that.
Yes. And I think not just as being a creative person, but, we're running our own businesses and in charge of our own time. Personal development has always been something that's interested me, and learning how to make my own personality and my strengths work for me, not against me, is just an important part. So I think this is such a great test that we can do to understand ourselves better.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting. So I had a client this morning. This is my 7 a.m. Client who's just so fascinating. So she has she's got connectedness, and she's got a bunch of strengths that I don't have. And we were having a look at her year because she was really, really frustrated that she hadn't finished her book. Very frustrated. But then when we actually looked at her year, she's like, well, I could cut out this part of my year. And she told me about it. She's like, I don't understand why I'm not writing now. And I'm like, oh, I know why you're not writing during that period. It's because you're feeding your connectedness, you're feeding your input. Like you can't cut that. If you cut that, like you're not going to write at all. But then we went, okay, well, winter is, you naturally are writing well in winter. Like what can we do to optimize that so that we don't have to? She comes alive in spring.
Wow.
Comes alive in spring and summer, and that's where she experiences new things and uses those to feed the writing she does in winter. And so it was like, okay, cool. Well, now that we know this about you, and we know that intellection needs a deadline, right? If there's no deadline, intellection will just keep thinking. So let's go. Now that we know this about you, this is your deadline, because expecting yourself to be able to finish it after the end of winter it's just unrealistic. So that'll be really interesting. That should hopefully make the next, she's in the US, so the next few months.
Oh, wow.
See if she gets more work done. So yeah, like knowing those kinds of things about you really helps.
Yeah.
Right? Like it stops if you ADHD, but also a lot of the new and different strengths, right? Like if you have ideation, input, individualization, learner, like these strengths need new and different. And so they often find that writing in the one genre, especially for long periods, they really struggle with it. They can burn out. They can, like, their writing pace can get less and less, and then they come to us going, I don't know what's going on. And the prevailing wisdom is that you stick to your genre, you stick to your lane, and that's how you're going to be the most successful. And I'll look at them and I'll be like, yeah, but you got 4 of the new and different strengths. If you stick to one genre, you're going to die. You're going to wither. It's okay for you to write in multiple genres. In fact, if you write in multiple genres over 10 years, you're going to write more and have more books out than you would if you stuck to one genre. So it's okay to go write in multiple genres.
Yeah.
So yeah, just knowing those sorts of things makes things easier.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely incredible. So as soon as we get off this call, I am totally going to work out mine. There's definitely a few that you've said that I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's me. Oh, that could be me.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's super interesting, right? So we do these micro coaching calls where you can get there might be 7 other writers in there, and they ask questions about problems that they're having, and you can see their strengths, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. And so yeah, I really like those because you can learn from other people as well as your own things.
Wonderful. So if somebody wants to work with you, how do they go about doing that?
Sure. So there's a couple of different ways. You can head to my website, samarathorn.com, which is where you can get book one-on-one coaching. You can join a subscription. You can sign up for a subscription, do group packages. Alternatively, if you head to the Better Faster Academy or Becca Syme's Patreon, I have a coaching level there where you can have a subscription coaching with me as well. It's cheaper from my website. But the benefit seriously of going on to Becca's Patreon for that is that you also get a lot of her content and all of her content. So it is actually very useful. And that Patreon also has a micro coaching level if you want to do group calls. And alternatively, head to my Substack, which I am just building. So I would very much appreciate it. And that's going to have some content. Or you can find me on social media, mostly on Threads at Samara_Thorn. I'm just building that because nobody told me as a baby writer that maybe building your entire social media platform on a pen name that may or may not exist 10 years later was perhaps not a good idea. And so now I'm sitting there going, okay. a challenge with publishing, right? We just
Yes.
never know what's going to happen.
No, that's it. That's
Mm.
it. Oh, well, that has been absolutely fantastic. I know that the person listening to this will have some amazing tips and strategies and hopefully feel like they can turn some of their, what they thought were bad traits, into good and learn from them.
I mean, they're strengths, right?
Mm.
They're strengths, and and the ADHD is there's so much good. So it's literally just about taking the thing that you're naturally good at and tweaking it. Just because you're naturally good at it doesn't mean it's working for you,
Yeah.
right? You can be naturally good at something that is working against you. So, like, let's just take that thing that you're naturally very good at and make sure it's going in the right direction.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I've really appreciated this conversation today, Samara.
Right. Thank you.
Samara's insights are such a powerful reminder that we don't need to fix ourselves to succeed. We just need to understand how we're wired and learn how to work with our brains, not against them. Whether you've been diagnosed with ADHD or you're simply curious about how your personality and strengths influence your writing journey, I hope today's episode helped you feel seen, empowered, and inspired to embrace what makes you, you. If you loved this conversation and want more support on your writing journey, head over to serenadepublishing.com where you'll find tools, courses, and inspiration to help you build the creative life you've been dreaming of. Until next time, keep writing, keep dreaming, and remember your story matters. Thanks so much for listening to the Write Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean the world if you'd leave a review and share the show with your writer friends. It helps more creatives find their way to us. And don't forget to follow Serenade Publishing on Instagram and TikTok for more writing tips, publishing advice, and exciting events to keep you inspired. Keep writing, keep dreaming, and know that I'm here to support you every word of the way.